Call to order the Ashland Board of Commissioners meeting for Thursday, January 11th, 2024. We're going to start with an invocation and pledge of allegiance.
For I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Lord, we come today thanking you for our city, Ashland, Kentucky, and we ask and invite your Holy Spirit into our chambers today. As we begin a new year, we ask your blessing and favor over our city. We ask for a hedge of protection. We ask you today for a spirit of unity in our city. And we ask you for your divine wisdom over this board of mayor and commissioners as we strive to make the right decisions in the best interest of our city and its citizens. Bless our city manager, our staff and employees, and those in attendance today. We pray always in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Let us stand. Gentlemen, please uncover and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion to receive and file the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have a motion to receive and file the minutes for the regular meeting held on November 16th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioners, I'll start if you don't mind. First off, I want to welcome everybody here today. I hope everybody had a good holiday. I do want to start this meeting. We usually end meetings in memory of people, but I prefer to start our meeting to let everyone know that's present that we are saddened to learn of Jim Osborne, who was chief of our fire department. He passed away January 9th at Community Hospice. He served June 1979 through January 2006, and his service meant a lot to this city and to its citizens, and this board extends our deepest condolences to his family, friends, and the fire department. So with that, we'll start with Commissioner Goot.
I just want to welcome everybody to this first meeting of 2024. We've had a great 2023, and I'd just like to start it off right and say thank you for all your support, citizens and staff alike. As you can see, we have a lot of construction going on all over town, and I would encourage you to shop local and shop often. And thank you for coming this afternoon.
Commissioner Spriggs.
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. It's good to see the sun shining down on us today. We feel very blessed to have that. So one thing I want to say is the Polk chapter of DAR had a wonderful ceremony at Ashland Cemetery with wreaths across America. The mayor spoke and even got to lay a wreath for his uncle, who was killed in action in Italy. So it was very moving, and we're really pleased to honor our veterans that have fought for the freedoms that we have, the ones that died and the ones that have served. So we're really proud of that. And I want to thank the mayor, our park systems, and everybody that helped with that. It's always a joy to work with city employees on these things because they're so professional. So thank you. That's all I got.
All right. Mr. Clark.
I'm looking through my phone to make sure that I say this correctly, but somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. So just wanted to, first of all, thank you all for coming. Second, thank you for giving me a second to get my act together up here. Monday, MLK celebration at the
Yes.
train depot starts at
10:30.
10:30.
10:30.
That's what I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure. That's what I was looking for, but I couldn't get there fast enough. 10:30, and there will be a ceremony there, which will be great. I think you're speaking.
I am.
And following the ceremony, there will be a march from the train depot to the church on Broadway Square, and everyone is welcome to join that. Everyone's welcome to join in the march, and I encourage you all to do that.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Last thing, there is a church service on Sunday evening at 5 o'clock. There's
Okay.
always a service over at New Hope Baptist.
Okay.
Oh.
All righty. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things before we go into the slides. I had intended to do the 2023 COA accomplishments. I'm still waiting on a little bit of information and packaging that, so the intent is that I'll brief that on the 25th of January BOC meeting. Also, will be upcoming, I just want to point out the work that Public Services has done installing new camera system over at the garage. It is spectacular, the amount of work they've done. I'll give you some statistics. We've had a couple of small vandalism issues there, and the layout of those cameras is exceptional, and I can't tell you how much conduit and wire they've run. Thanks again to Public Services and also APD, because they had a force protection input on that. The Women and Minority Loans Program, we've had some very good inputs and requests on those. The committee will be making a recommendation soonest to the elected officials for distribution of those. The FY 2025 budget, the directors and staff are working right now hard on their budget worksheets, which are due in a couple of weeks, I think, Tony and Michelle. And then finance is getting prepped for putting that budget together. We will, for the public to know, we'll schedule a specific, as we did last year, a public meeting for the elected officials to fine-tune and give us their final guidance or their guides as we go into preparing the budget. Do not have a demolition slide today, but I did want you all to know that this year we have 14 properties scheduled for demolition. One's already been done. This is on top of the 75 that were accomplished before, but one point I wanted to bring out is that 5 of these properties are scheduled to be paid for with CDBG. You all know how bureaucratic that has been in the past, so this is a big step, and thanks to everybody in CED for tackling that. And the last thing, I'm going to try to go over these wave tops, and Chief will provide some color commentary if I need to, but there's been a lot of concern and consternation about the backups in front of Starbucks. We've received numerous calls to 911 about that. A sign was posted probably a year ago, over a year ago, in regards to this situation. And in a nutshell, if APD is out there on site, people respect that sign for the most part. When they're not there, it continues to be problematic. They have, and again, Chief Kelly can dive into some of the statistics, but part of the problem, in case you haven't noticed, is not only do they block the left lane when you're coming off the bridge or making a turn on coming from 13th, which is problematic, but also in the right lane, people try to merge in. So you've got 2 of the 3 or 4 lanes that then become clogged, and it's an issue. So this isn't just something that the city's come up with. Chief Kelly and Community and Economic Development, Chris Pullum, have both worked locally with the management, and they've also worked at the corporate level to no avail. We've not been able to get any adjustments there. The enforcement does come at a cost, and this is what I wanted to put out. 33 citations have been issued, 20 warnings have been issued. It's been a focus area for 42 days. When I say it's a focus area, when the APD is not on higher priority calls, they will go to that when they can, similar to what they do with traffic enforcement in other parts of town. But we can't it'd be irresponsible to put a police officer at all times down there. We just don't have that much manpower. For the community to know, the fine is $164 if you get ticketed there. And also, before somebody makes the accusation that the city's just building their coffers on that money does not go to the city, it goes to the Commonwealth. So it is an issue. I talked to Jim this morning, and I meant to mention, Commissioner, thanks for prompting me to bring this to the public. I'm having some conversations with Corporation Counsel Moore, and if there's anything else that we can do officially from the city perspective to try to influence this in a positive way. But I do want to let the public know it is an extreme safety issue, and you will be ticketed if we have officers down there. Chief, did I miss anything? No. Okay, moving on to the slides. Just wanted to highlight that I believe that we posted on the Facebook. On the Facebook. Sound like my mom. On Facebook, but this is one of the 2 new 2023 Ford F-150 trucks by Public Services. You see this one outfitted with plows and the sand spreader. Really came at a perfect time as we're in the middle of getting ready for, we're ready for the winter storms. We have had problems with our existing fleet in the past on dependability. So these will be frontline trucks, and we'll have backup vehicles in case something goes wrong with the other ones that are older than these. This was budgeted in the FY23 budget. Next.
How many do we have now?
We bought 2 brand new ones. Mr. Hunter, are you here? How many F-150 or 550s do we have?
We've got 2. together, we have 11 salt trucks.
11?
11 vehicles outfitted for snow removal.
It's also,
We get a lot of calls about snow removal. A lot.
This will greatly help us. Manpower to put the vehicles there, and we'll be able to put extra vehicles out on each shift.
Can't hear you.
We'll be able to put extra vehicles out on each shift.
Okay.
Getting these two equipment, so.
Very good. Thank you.
so this is a time of the year we do get a lot of calls. If you go to the city website, you go under Public Services, you'll see the five-phase plan or the five-area plan that Public Services use and the priorities of the roads that they go to. So if you've got curiosity on that, if you got suggestions on that, let us know. But also, there's a number provided to Public Services, so if you have an issue that you feel hasn't been addressed, or sometimes roads get missed for whatever reason, please call up and we answer that 24/7 during, I think that's true, Mr. Hunter, during,
You also put lights on top of the cab trucks,
what's what?
lights,
What about them?
lights, when you see a truck.
A light
going down
bar.
the road, you see lights.
I see that they have the normal cab lights. Do you have emergency lights on those, or is there a plan for that, Jack?
They do have LED
Okay.
strobe lights in.
Okay.
So it looks like they've got
Front end.
Through the,
the plow. Yeah.
Okay, next slide. Really excited. I mentioned this last week about the Citizens Academy. The creative types came up with the spelling of that. But this is scheduled for
Kindergarten.
beginning on the 6th of February. It'll go 6 weeks. It'll be Tuesday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. There was a Facebook post that went out yesterday. We've already had 3 people sign up. But in a nutshell, and you can read this information for yourself, or if you got other questions, please go on the on Facebook or the city webpage to take a look at that. The mayor will kick off the first session, I believe, and then we'll also have elected officials at each of the sessions to help support the staff. I appreciate, this is a new lift for us, and it's something different that we're doing. A lot of other communities do this well, and we're trying to emulate that just to inform and educate citizenry. It gives a lot more depth than we could possibly cover during these meetings or even a one-on-one phone call. So if you're interested in that, please sign up. Like everything else we do here, we'll make adjustments to make this better. We'll figure out how many times a year it's wise to do it, if it's 1 or 2, or just depending on the interest. Next. And this slide has been published either on the Visit AKY site and or on the city website. This is a very basic description of how to navigate the roundabouts. Right now, if you've seen, the current status of the project is one of the roundabouts has been poured on 15th Street and stamped. They were here till about 10 o'clock last night. The second one on 16th Street is going in today. Sidewalks on the north and south side of 1600 block are being demolished. It's going to be a little bit more challenging than previous blocks they did, because if you'll notice, you'll see the silver light poles that are down there. They're not painted black. They have the Cobra heads. All of that electrical goes in conduits underneath the ground, so this block is a little bit more challenging. But that work has started. It's why the roads are shut down in that area. They are scheduled to be, one other thing, the contractor and the supervisor or program manager out there have determined that they can leave an approximately 4-foot section of concrete until a day or two before that they actually do the concrete. So we're trying to avoid those situations where there's only gravel for people to walk on, and that was something that the contractor came up, which I think is a good initiative and really important there, especially on that block for the density of businesses. The roundabouts are scheduled to be open on the 21st of January. I think we all know what the weather looks like next week. There are certain conditions on temperature that they can't do. Laying that concrete, it would be bad for the long-term result of that, so that weather may have an impact. Anyway, this is self-explanatory. It is on our website. Take a look at it. But there's a video that I'd like to show. It's about 2 minutes long, and this is from KYTC. And I beg your indulgence just to watch this for a few minutes.
The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet presents Safer Road Solutions, a guide to designs that improve safety, mobility, and efficiency across Kentucky roadways. Many roundabouts are a one-way circular intersection where vehicles move counterclockwise around the central island. There are no traffic signals or stop signs, so traffic flows continuously through the intersection. Now, many roundabouts differ from other roundabouts because they have the added benefit of a smaller footprint. They are characterized by a smaller diameter and paved mountable center islands and splitter islands between lanes that larger vehicles can drive over when additional turning space is needed. Motorists navigate a mini roundabout just like other roundabouts. When approaching a roundabout, drivers should slow down to the advised speed and be ready to yield or stop. Just before entering the roundabout, drivers should watch for and yield to pedestrians and cyclists. They must also yield to any oncoming traffic already in the roundabout coming from the left. Motorists should not stop in the roundabout, even if they miss their exit.
Instead, they should continue around the circle and attempt the intended exit again. By eliminating the risk of head-on and T-bone crashes, many roundabouts increase safety at intersections. Like regular roundabouts, many roundabouts also save time, reduce pollution and fuel use, and save taxpayer dollars. Many roundabouts have the added benefit of taking up less space and can often be built without having to acquire more land. They are best for areas with low speeds and where environmental constraints prevent larger roundabouts with a raised central island. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet is committed to finding the right road design to keep vehicles.
Okay, perfect. So that, I think that's also posted, is that correct, Erica? So if anybody's interested, look, we receive a ton of comments. I think there was 139 last count on the latest post that we have. We do catch ourselves saying some of the same information. So to the public, we do try to keep up with general and genuine concerns and questions about that. But we are posting, if this isn't already on the web page, it will be. And I believe that Visit AKY also has this and the upcoming slides that I'll show you, these next two slides, on their website. This has been posted before, so it's a simple 1, 2, 3 description. I'm going to take the opportunity to say one of the most common comments we have is nobody's going to let me in. Well, it's the exact same scenario as if you're doing parallel parking.
Yep.
So it's kind of a wash for parallel parking. True statement that if it was a normal angle parking, if you drove in, you wouldn't have to worry about that. But then you've also, if we did normal angle parking, you'd have the tension of trying to back up, especially when there's a bigger vehicle beside you. And I think at least I've experienced that over on Carter Avenue. So that's one graphic. The next, please. And just some do's and don'ts. Again, these are posted, talking about signaling, et cetera. Also, thanks to whoever came up with this idea, but Public Services for executing it. This was, I think, lifted from another community that had done this recently somewhere in the United States. It was very well received by that community. If for some reason you're concerned about doing this, there's a couple spots down there you can go down and practice reverse angle parking down by the depot. Next. Mayor, Commissioners, that's all I had, unless you have any
I
questions.
have a couple of questions while you're still on. What happens in the roundabouts if somebody just decides to drive through the middle? Is there a ticketing, are we going to ticket people for that?
It'd
or-
be it'd be a traffic violation, for sure.
You know that'll happen, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of things will happen. Same as people run red lights, and,
Yeah.
and, you know,
Yeah.
there will be people that don't follow the rules, I
Yeah.
guess. But would that be a ticket?
It should be
Should be,
something.
shouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
The only other comment I'll have is.
I got one more thing before you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Do you remember we passed the garbage can ordinance not long ago about people putting their cans up? And I'd asked who was going to be in charge with that, and I think I was told you that our sanitation workers would be in charge of that, but I see cans sitting out. So one thing I hate is passing an ordinance that's unenforceable. So what are we going to do?
Please share those with us. I know the one that you observed on, the one specifically I can remember that you brought to my attention was on 13th Street across from Speedway. What we do is we warn the citizens first. Public Services does that. When it's a continuing issue, then they can issue citations. But I bring that to Mr. Hunter's attention when I see him. So if you see those, please bring those to our attention.
Okay, that's it. Sorry, Mayor.
And I can verify that sanitation does cite.
Yeah. I mean, did you get cited, Matt?
I'm really done with my briefing now, Mayor.
Moving on. Well, actually, no. The only other question I have in regards is just, obviously, I hear a lot of concerns from the public about the roundabouts. But the question that may be able to be settled today is something that's probably been addressed online, but concerns about public safety. With reduction of a lane, how is our fire and police going to get to a site or a building that they need to if there's only one lane in each direction?
Thank you, Mayor. So, we don't have a larger graphic of the area, do we? So all of those, as you saw in the video, the splitters, which are those 4 that are in the feeding lanes, those are mountable, and the center lane is also mountable. When you look at it right now, if you go out there and look at it while they're pouring, it's really impressive. But from the bottom of the current milled road to that curb line is extremely high, and you'd say no vehicle can go over that. There's going to be 1.5 inches of asphalt on the final project. So it's a fine balance. You don't want to make something that's so easy to cross over that people will cross over the median and do a normal angle parking across the street, because that would be extremely problematic. But you also don't want it to be so high that you can't have semi-trucks or something else that mount those. APD and AFD have been involved in this. They share the concerns. They're aware of the challenges that go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, but they'll continue to have access. It's also another reason why we have moved forward on the ladder truck, purchasing the new ladder truck, which those structures provide a unique challenge in that area. And there's one other thing I wanted to mention. Mayor, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple follow-ups, actually,
can I-
comment.
One other thing. By law, and you'll notice here in the blue, vehicles must yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk. If you haven't been out there, I encourage you to go look at it. And I've said this before in the public meetings we've had, the geometry of Winchester changes so dramatically that somebody going 40 or 50 miles an hour is going to be almost virtually impossible. I say virtually impossible because I don't want to make that a challenge to somebody. But if you go down there and you look at that right now, and you look at those splitters, and you look how narrow that is compared to what it is before, this has its own traffic calming effects. So the speed will be much, much slower. By law, if a pedestrian is in that road, you have to stop. Counterpoint I've heard before is, well, I thought the city wanted the traffic to flow. The traffic will flow. It will continue to flow. You can imagine yourself when you're at a crosswalk, do I go out in the intersection or not? The other beauty is that, and I don't know the exact specifics, Mr. Cole can help me out. Let's say getting from one side of the road to the other right now is 100 feet. I think it's 20 feet to get to the median. If there's some reason you feel unsafe or somebody has some type of mobility issues, they can get to the median and quote-unquote be safe. But it's greatly, greatly reduced on the amount of space that the pedestrian will be exposed in the roadway.
I think that sounds much more efficient than having people sitting at red lights. And I almost got hit over there one day by a truck running a red light.
Yeah.
And you bring up another good point, Commissioner, is that when the vehicles are sitting there at a red light, it's a pollution issue,
Yes, it is.
especially with the taller buildings. That was one of the reasons Kiowa was able to help secure the federal funding for this, that was a major point to them.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
Your turn.
Couple things. One, Manager, you said something about semis in those. Do we not have an ordinance in place that semis are prohibited on Winchester Avenue anyway?
Thank you, Commissioner. We do.
Okay.
But-
I just wanted to,
Yeah.
and I know they pop up there frequently because, again, people don't always follow all the rules. But I wanted to point that out. They're not supposed to be there.
I think it's rare, though, isn't it? I rarely
I
see
think
them.
it's
Every
rare. I don't see
now
them
and
very
then,
often, but-
Occasional thing.
Sometimes
yeah.
some people get the truck route.
And we all
wrong.
give them the.
The other thing that, just a couple of comments that I would like to see. One, I would like for us to put together a graphic in some way that shows the routes to the bridge. There is more than one route to the bridge than Winchester Avenue.
Good idea. Yeah.
And I think that would be beneficial.
Okay.
Is if, for education purposes, look, these are all the ways you can get to the bridge from wherever you happen to be in Ashland. So if you could entertain me on that, I think that would be great. The other thing, when we put this project together or accepted this project and kind of went through the process of it, and I understand things change as the project evolves, but essentially it was basically sold to us we're going to do this block and move to this block and move to this block. And I know that that has evolved, and it's turned into a situation, in my opinion, that literally every single block has some sort of destruction on it at this point. I would like for us to get to the place where we have some idea of how that's going to be finished out. Like they've torn up from 13th all the way to 18th in some regard. What is their plan for systematically putting that back together?
So the longest pole in the tent right now is the pavers. The pavers are on order. When the pavers get in, then you'll see, for example, on 13th Street with
Is that why the corners aren't finished?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
that
exactly why
helps me.
That's exactly
I'm like, why don't they pour the rest of the concrete?
And then when you see the gap between, and Steve helped educate me on this today, it was something I just didn't know, to be frank. When you see the gap, for example, in front of the escape place, that curb is poured, the concrete is in, but where you'll see the light poles, there's still a gap.
Right.
Those are pavers also.
Okay.
So, Mr. Cole, do you remember the approximate time Palmer and the contractor estimated for the pavers?
I believe the pavers were beginning about mid-February is when enough construction would be advanced to where the pavers could be effectively installed.
So they're continuing to try to simultaneously, I hope I briefed this in the last meeting, the expedited schedule of shutting down 15th and 16th Street. We're estimating that's going to take a month and a half off the overall schedule,
Right.
which is positive in a lot of ways. There's no other way to say it. It's ripping off the Band-Aid between 15th and 16th.
I understand that. I just, it kind of looks like a war zone, and it looks like we're going kind of roughshod on, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do, and I know it's not, it's not us. It's however the contractor's determining to work, but I think we have some ownership in that in terms of saying to the contractor, no, we don't need to do that right now.
We do. We meet weekly. Everybody that's involved, the contractor, the project manager, city staff, key elements of the city staff. So some of the changes we've made, for example, the 4-inch, or not the 4-inch, the 4 foot on the concrete, that was a result, if Eden's in here, Eden McKenzie, she is, if not daily, regularly interacting with the businesses and trying to keep them updated. We're trying to do as best we can on social media also. But we've made some adjustments on the fly. I mean, the biggest one is
Right.
what we're doing right now.
Right.
But your point is absolutely valid. I think there'll be much more closure when the pavers get in. Please continue to contact us. It's Episcopalian Church, right, on that corner?
Episcopal.
Episcopal, thank you. The Episcopal Church contacted us in regards to that specific issue. So Palmer's working to see what they can, and the issue being people with mobility challenges getting over that.
Right.
It's fine for somebody with no mobility challenges, and so they're looking at some short-term solutions
Okay.
to do that until the
And
pavers
that's,
are
I
in.
guess, was my biggest point. If that is the way that it's going to be until mid-February, is there a remedy in the meantime? Since, essentially every corner is
Right.
blown up. It makes pedestrian traffic very, very difficult.
I agree, Commissioner.
Well, kind of impossible, really. I mean, you
Well, it was
did
funny,
have-
I had a tourism board meeting, and I went out of the side of my office that comes out onto Winchester Avenue to get ready to walk down to the tourism office, and I was like, oh, I can't get there. They were doing something between my office and tourism. Like, oh, I can't get there from here. So I walk back to the corner and realize that I'm literally by my car. So I, like an idiot, get in my car to drive to tourism. And then I was like, oh, now I got to go all the, and I thought I should have just gone to the corner, walked across the street and gone around. But it's a challenge when it's where it is so different than what we all had in our head, this block, then this block, then this block. It's really a challenge.
And I'm not making excuses, but part of the explanation too, getting the maximum use of concrete where they can get as much done as possible. Now, I'm not saying to the extent we do all concrete at one time, obviously, but doing the balance and the coordination between the curb machine and then when they do the side ox.
I imagine they have like a demolition crew and a concrete crew and might as well get all the work out of your demolition crew that you can while you've got them there, right? I understand all that, but I need, for my purposes, kind of this is what this project looks like now, because obviously we're going to do this block and finish it and move to the next block and finish it is
And we're,
well out the window.
one of the other things that we're using as an organization divide is a Gantt chart, and we're expecting to get that Gantt chart that'll have some of those
good.
details. They're broad, But I would recommend I brief that at the next BOC meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So you were
I
at-
appreciate that.
Is it concrete, weather dependent as well? I mean, we've got some really bad weather coming up here. But I don't know if you've noticed, I saw some pictures on social media of cracks and some paving that's over there already, and one of the places with the pavers is crooked. It looks like it's drunk.
If the punch list is not done on that, so if people, again, genuine concerns about workmanship, we definitely want to see.
Okay.
So if we could share those, Mr. Cole's the input for that information for the city. As with any other project, you go through and do a punch list.
Yeah.
At the end, or if we can fix them as they're ongoing. Commissioner, you brought out one other thing. We'll definitely get the graphic for approaches to the bridge. You'll see, the commissioner and mayor, you all know, commissioners and mayor, you know, on this agenda has a 14th Street change where that's going to go to 2-lane. So that will change the dynamics on 14th Street between Greenup and Winchester. And then the final thing, there's been a lot of discussion about delivery trucks. We just happened to walk by today. The mill's getting a delivery from on the backside. And so it's a block-by-block challenge. There will be in the in-state delivery space, designated temporary space on the side roads for large trucks to be in there. Also, I've talked to a few of the businesses, I know Eden has also, but adjusting the delivery times when that can be done, to be in there in the morning, early morning, will, just like the large cities, it just helps with
Is
delivery
that
times.
something that we're going to have to maybe address via ordinance at some point?
I think,
Probably.
I don't know if we have to add the side delivery spots. Does that have to be
No,
added?
I'm just
The
meaning
hours for
the hours
delivery.
for delivery.
Oh, something we could look at for sure.
Thank you. I didn't mean to take us down a
No,
rabbit hole. I just
I appreciate the
had
opportunity to
some-
explain this, because, again, we get a lot of the same questions and over, and just the more we can communicate that, the better, in my opinion.
Okay. Moving on to public participation. Anyone with a comment or request may come to the podium. The rest of the commission concerning matters related to city business, services, or personnel. Comments related to election issues or concerning personal disputes will not be allowed. Personal attacks, obscene or threatening language will not be tolerated. Presentations are limited to 5 minutes. A yellow light indicates 30 seconds will remain, and the red light means the time limit has expired. Only one speaker is permitted per subject. No action will be taken at this meeting. Those with comments are asked to fill out an inquiry form and leave it with the city clerk for distribution to the proper city department. Would anybody like to come forward at this time? And if you could, for the record, just name and address.
Elliot Frederick, 1607 Martin Street. May I approach with some handouts?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Elliot Frederick, and I am a member of the Kentucky People's Union because I believe that everyone is deserving to live safe and equitable lives, and I believe that KPU can help make that happen. Here are the problems we're facing. There's a housing crisis here in Ashland. There's not enough affordable housing, rental housing is hard to find, and rental housing conditions are poor. This is the impact. People are forced on the streets, neighborhoods are unsafe, property values are diminished, and the city is shrinking despite incredible efforts by various city initiatives. This is our vision. We want landlords and tenants to maintain property in compliance with codes in order for citizens to have healthy and safe and affordable homes. We envision an Ashland where everyone has a safe place to call home, which includes increasing investment in the affordable housing. The rental registry is a first step towards this vision. The city passed the rental registry 2.5 years ago for use in conjunction with the nuisance ordinance because the city needed to know which houses are for rent and which aren't. This hasn't been enforced, and as a result, in the middle of a housing crisis, the Community and Economic Development Department is understaffed and under-resourced for the task it was given, as it has been for the last 2.5 years. The commissioners must readjust their intentions for the ordinance to fit the time. We need a public, complete rental registry to hold irresponsible individuals to account and prevent unsafe living conditions, which damage property values, encourage crime, and allow houses to become dilapidated when that is the last thing a city lacking homes needs. The city needs to at least know what houses are for rent and the public desperately needs to know, especially if we hope to attract people and investment in our city. To meet the needs of public safety, all landlords should register their properties. The registration form is available on the Property Maintenance Division section of the city's website, and make APD and CED's jobs easier. To meet the problem of the search for housing in the housing crisis, the City Commission should publish that complete rental registry and make the public's lives easier. This is how our rental registry would benefit the city. The city would understand what's for rent in Ashland and who the landlords are. And we all want the city to grow and bring people in and keep people here. This would make it easier for people to move here and find a place to live. Here are the benefits to the citizens. It would be easier to find a place to live and contact their landlords or property manager if living conditions are unsafe. And here are the benefits for the landlords. A better understanding of the rental market, which creates it makes it easier to create a better rental market. And this allows for effective enforcement of the nuisance ordinance and for code enforcements, and will make a more streamlined process for landlords to rent out to their properties. What KPU has proposed is to take this necessary ordinance the city determined was needed and allow community and economic development to hire personnel so it can meet its current and future goals, achieve a complete rental registry to meet its goals from 2021, and to make it public to meet the needs of people searching for housing in 2024. We want our commissioners and city staff to get an accurate understanding of what it's like to rent in Ashland today. And it's important to meet people where they're at because the city doesn't have this information institutionally. Can you join us Saturday, January 20th to knock doors? Finally, we deserve to hear where our elected representatives stand on this issue, and we ask for our amendment to be added to the agenda at the next commissioner meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Would anybody else like to come forward at this time? All right, and for the record, just name and address, sir.
Hi, my name is Paul Castle. I live at 207 15th Street. So I'm up here as representing a group of landlords who can't always make these meetings for various reasons. I've lived in town myself for 30 years. I've been a landlord for 25 years. I'm a realtor. I'm a leader of the Tri-State Real Estate Investors, which is a group of people from all over the Tri-State, 600 or 700 people who are real estate investors. And I represent hundreds of landlords locally in Ashland who obviously they all can't be here at one time. In regards to this registry, what I'm asking and the group of people that I'm representing are asking, which you'll probably get some emails soon and hopefully contacted. I'm asking that we repeal this registry altogether. This registry, I know the original intent, what I understand, was to make it easy for police or whoever to get a hold of a landowner if there was a problem or whatever the situation. But here's my rebuttal, or here's why I don't think we need that. That information is already out there. Anybody can call the PBA today and figure out exactly who owns any piece of property without a registry. And when this came up before, I remember one of the issues was, well, what if it's owned by XYZ Corporation? Well, the next step is to get online on the state website, type in XYZ Corporation, and you can figure out exactly who owns it and how to get in contact with them. So this registry, I feel like, is absolutely redundant and adds burden to multiple landlords who don't need it. It's going to lead to, I think, whether it's you guys as a council or later council people, it's going to lead to several unintended consequences. Specifically, some of those unintended consequences, it's going to cost money. Sooner or later, somebody has to run this program, and eventually, what Huntington's done, they charge a 2% fee. So it's basically a tax. And if you tax the landlords, or anybody really, but specifically in this situation, landlords, then we're obviously going to pass that cost along to renters, and their rent's going to go up. Another unintended consequence is because of that, because of this whole situation, it discourages people from becoming renters. Nobody wants to be burdened with any of this stuff. And especially, we all know what it's going to lead to. So that's going to lead to less landlords, and that's going to lead to less housing. So these are some unintended consequences that's absolutely going to happen. When we're talking about expanding this to like a website or some kind of thing where now you're talking about running a site like apartments.com or Zillow or something else. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. These companies are literally billion-dollar companies that it's being asked of you people to run and do something like that. So I think this needs to just be repealed, period. Let me see some of my notes. I think I've hit most of the thing. I think the biggest thing I can hammer home is cost. And eventually, whether it's now or future commissions, there's going to be a cost to somebody. And that cost is going to be passed along to somebody else by increased taxes, increased code, whatever it is, there's going to be increased money cost here to somebody. We had a real estate investor meeting last night. We had 40 or 50 people show up. And this was the topic. And it's a hot button topic because we're all involved in this. Us real estate investors, I get it that they don't make Disney movies about the awesome, benevolent landlord that's out there. All right? In every movie and everything that's out there, we're the bad guys. I totally get it. You guys know that's not the case. You absolutely know that. We, as real estate investors, that group of people last night with 40 or 50 people in the room, they've easily invested 40 or 50 million dollars of their own money into our community to renovate houses, to try to run a business, and try to do the best they can in this situation. You know, you mentioned there's 14 properties being bulldozed.
Mr. Castle, I apologize, but your time has expired.
Understand.
I just want to clarify, I have allowed, for the purposes of our public commenting, I've allowed one person to speak in favor. I've allowed one person to speak against. Now I'm going to give our city manager an opportunity to respond. That's typically not how we do it either, but this may be an opportunity to give both sides some clarity as to what has been investigated and what potentially we could do moving forward. So appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
First, I want to start with this. I believe KPU and landlords have contacted, I know myself, and I believe every one of the elected officials. And I appreciate the civility and the approach that everybody's taken on this. I think it's a situation where there's just differences of opinions. I think everybody's trying to stay by the facts as much as possible, which I think is also very relevant. I would like to read, I had an excellent conversation with Elliot and Mark Boykin yesterday, along with Mr. Moore. I will read from an email that I sent. If that's, I don't think I'm violating anything with y'all KPU to share with you what I did before. This is also advice that I've given individually to each one of the elected officials. So if you bear with me, also if I get staccato, it's because I got a visibility issue. So give me a second. The City of Ashland should not publish a rental registry per KPU's request for the following reasons. First off, it misses the intent of the rental registry ordinance. A public rental registry was never the intent of ordinance number 73/2021. Instead, the ordinance was designed to assist Ashland Police Department and Community Economic Development in identifying ownership of properties where criminal and nuisance activities occurred to, quote, ensure the ability of the city to identify ownership of properties where criminal and nuisance activities were occurring, to facilitate enforcement issues pursuant to the nuisance property ordinance, end quote, which is also ordinance number 72/2021. Secondly, privacy concerns. Publishing a rental registry would violate the privacy of rental property ownership. Forcing a public rental registry could have adverse effects to the rental market. And there is a more specific analysis that was done by Corporation Counsel Moore, which we'd be glad to share. Third, it's not currently lawful unless the existing ordinance is changed. A public rental registry is unlawful. The fourth point, cost. An initial estimate of to effectively operate a rental registry program is $130,000 for the initial setup cost. That's software upgrades, office equipment, fuel, personnel. The annual recurring cost of the city is estimated at $98,000 with future adjustments for CPI. And as I explained to Elliot and Mark yesterday, that $98,000 is not the salary of an individual. It would be complete, and I'm assuming this, Mr. Pullum is not here, but I'm assuming this is a total of all benefits that would go with it. So pension and also medical. I do want to make one key point, though. The City of Ashland should continue to seek voluntary compliance in accordance with the rental registry ordinance, ordinance number 73, 2021. To this end, an increased effort to educate rental property owners will be conducted. We do have a flyer, if you will, that details what the responsibilities of landlords are, Mr. Castle, to you and the folks that you're representing here today. And that is something we're trying to figure out the best way to get that out, to not send it to every single person in the city. My understanding is that you can't identify just based on the land ownership if that's a rental property or not, so that's part of the challenge. So, Corporation Counsel, did I miss anything?
Well, probably the only thing that I would add is in response to Mr. Castle's comments that, this information's available in PBA, and you can get the ownership information from the PBA. You can't get the management information from the PBA, and that's part of what we require in the existing ordinance. Also, the PBA information is not available except during the operating hours of the PBA, and if we had this information in our own database, it'd be available to police and code after hours, which is often when that's available. But the main reason that this information was to be kept private was the concern about proprietary information, which landlords would not want to share their proprietary information publicly. And proprietary information to me includes not only what is available for rent, but what the rental charges are, who pays for utilities, who doesn't pay for utilities. All those sorts of things are proprietary and may not want to be shared. So that's why the design was to have this information basically in terms of ownership and management for the city's purposes, to keep it confidential. And I think that if we went to a public registry with the information necessary to create this, in essence, one-stop shop for rental information, you're going to have proprietary information that's being required by the city and put out there, and it'd probably have an adverse effect, I think, as Mr. Castle points out, on who's willing to rent their properties. And you also have the issue that, at least to the extent proprietary information is involved, the Open Records Act exempts that from disclosure, which doesn't mean that the information can't be disclosed by a city if they want to, but it's certainly a point to take into consideration if that's something that the legislature's determined is not going to be required to be shared, then perhaps we wouldn't want to be sharing that either.
Okay. All right. Would anybody else like to come forward at this time? And just for the record, just name and address.
Terrell Ethel, address still homeless. I live with friends here and there. So basically, I'm just going to speak from my heart. I'm going to put it in perspective for somebody that's actually out here on the street, right? So we're sitting here talking about these ordinances and we're talking about this registry. I'm a member of KPU as well. And I've had many ups and downs in my life, I'm not from here. I've been here for 15 years, but now I consider this my home. I faced many, many struggles, honestly. And it's no disrespect to the landlord, but let me ask you something. Have you ever been homeless?
You're not supposed, don't address me in this meeting. I'm not here to debate you.
You see what I mean? Has anybody been homeless? And I'm not taking this out on you guys, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm talking about from my heart. Anybody in this room is one decision away from being homeless or losing their job or anything. It can happen to anybody. These people that are out here homeless, they don't choose to be homeless. Some do, but most of them don't. It's because they don't have a way to find a place to live. I brought myself up from the pits of hell, and I'm trying to do everything I can in my life to change. I've been in jail. I've been in treatment centers. I've ran them. I've worked at Pathways as a peer support specialist. I just started a meeting here in the community, just for the community, because that's how much I believe in this place. Because I walk around here every single day, looking at people struggling, trying to get a place to live. I have a voucher from the HUD office. I can't find a place to live. These numbers that are on this list is all invalid. Nobody wants to answer the phone. People that do answer the phone, they say that we haven't rented in 10 years. Voicemails come on. I've gotten a hold of 2 people on a list of 40 people. It's not even updated. So you want people to change, and you want people to be successful citizens in this community, something that I'm striving to do. When I can walk around here with my head down and hate everybody, but I don't do that because I want to see everybody change. You guys have seen me in this meeting many times because I believe in this. I believe in myself. But how can you expect people to grow, and how do you expect people to change things in life if we're holding on to this rental registry? We're talking about ordinance for trash cans. We're talking about rebuilding the city with flowers. And we're putting all this money into stuff like that. But we can't put a registry for people to go to just to see, hey, this place is for rent. We can sit here and talk about people and the landlords don't want their information out there, but guess what? There's word of mouth. If I rent something and it's $700, I can tell that to my friend. The information is going to be out there no matter what. But I cannot find a place to live. And do you know what that does to a person? It brings depression. It brings anxiety. It brings failure. It brings almost like I'm a father. I have 2 kids that I haven't been able to see in almost a year. And in order for me to get my kids back in my life, I don't have custody battles or anything like that. I'm trying to be a man and do things differently. Pick myself up and try to be a member of this community, to have a job, to have a place to live. But when I don't have a place to live, I cannot have my kids at my house. I don't feel like I'm a member in this community because I don't have nowhere to live. I can't get a job because I don't have nowhere to live. I want to work. I want to do all these things. But how does a person get a job if he doesn't know where he's going to live? How does a person want to take care of his family or his kids if he doesn't have anything to live with? This needs to be done. It needs to be done. But you guys can get background checks on this and know everything in my life, but I'm not allowed to know what the landlord that I'm living in their property about? Makes no sense to me. We're talking about simple things. How much does it cost? Where's the property? And the amenities that come with it. That's simple. When people go to own something, you own it because you want to help people, essentially, right? If I had property, it's because I want people off the street. Of course, it's a business, but at the end of the day, we're human beings. Stop acting like these people out here that are homeless are just choosing to be homeless. They're not choosing to be homeless until you get out here and you walk it, until you're actually homeless yourself. Nobody can understand the pain and the struggle of what it takes to get out of that. And when you got all these obstacles in your way, it brings people down. I'm just strong enough, and I got God in my life, and I got good people that wants to continue to help fight for this. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep fighting for it too. Until you're actually out there on the streets, you will never know. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to say, again, we typically don't comment on matters brought to us during public comments, but I will say this. I have actually been a part of the count that is done by the federal government. It's required of every community. I've been up till 2 a.m., walking the streets, meeting with people that are homeless, counting them so we can better understand what we're facing here. And I think we probably do a big disservice to our unhoused population, because when we do it, based on the government's requirements, it's always in like the dead of night, and it's always in the winter when people are inside. If they can be, 2, 3 to a hotel room, 4 to a hotel room, 6 to a hotel room. Hang on just a second. Secondly, we hear you. We hear all of you. That is definitely something that we have looked at. But I assure you this, the rental registry is not going to solve everything. I understand the need. But I've been on conference calls with mayors across the state. affordable housing is not only a problem for this community, it is a problem for the nation, and specifically for the state of Kentucky, because we have so many people that need help. Because of that, the federal government recently has looked at changing the way that they structure vouchers. They're investigating different models because what they have in place, folks, is not working. I work with Appalachian Housing, which is not in the city limits, but I'm on that board, which takes care of folks in Greenup County and Carter County and around our community, around Boyd County. We have the same problems there. We don't have enough landlords that will accept HUD. It's not just because they don't have a registry. It's because we don't have enough landlords willing to participate in the federal program. And cities and states across this nation also are investigating ways, different models to compel people to take vouchers regardless. But at this time, the state of Kentucky is not one of them. So as I appreciate your advocacy here in this room to us, I also encourage you, right now the legislature is in session, and I would encourage you to take that fight also to the state, because the dollars that filter down to us come from the state and federal government. And without meaningful reimbursements, landlords will not participate. And that's the other problem here. And it's very complex, and I'm not trying to water down just this specific issue, but I've looked at it. I'm concerned about it because I too am concerned about the people on my streets, and as is this board. We want to help where we can, but our hands are tied in some respects. I'd love to see more landlords participate in our HUD program. I participate because I know the value of putting people in a house or in an apartment. That's why I abstain from every HUD matter coming before this board, because I do care and I do choose to participate because I know it's helped people. I see it every day. So with that respect, I appreciate your open honesty about where you are in life, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. I think the only thing I can say to you is just keep the good fight. You're going to get there.
Oh, I am.
Okay. All right.
Is it Mr. Echo?
Ethel.
Ethel, okay, didn't hear you. One point of clarity, you said the list that you had of 40 HUD landlords is invalid?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when did you get that?
I just got it like last week.
Okay. Could you meet with Mr.
We can address that.
Reisner back there,
Yeah.
and we'll give him the details so that we can reconcile that? Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Sorry.
Okay. Would anybody else like to come forward at this time? For the record, your name and address, please.
Ann Perkins, 2603 Cumberland Avenue, Ashland. Everybody that knows me knows that I've been working with housing actually for almost 40 years now as the director of the YWCA and now as the director of Safe Harbor. So for those of you who don't know Safe Harbor, we're a domestic violence program that serves the 5 COAD district, and we've been fortunate, really fortunate, that we've been located in the old TB hospital for the last 40 years. We just celebrated our 40th year of service there. And what I want to say to you all today is I've asked the city of Ashland to renew our voucher program for our apartments. Safe Harbor is an emergency shelter. We have 60 beds in emergency. We have 30 beds in transitional, and we have 34 1-, 2-, and 3-bedroom apartments in the old TB hospital. So we have spent, with grant money, over $6 million in the last 40 years renovating that property. We have over 30 employees. We have over a $2 million budget for payroll, that we pay payroll taxes. We're a great city partner because we pay a really nice water bill I think we have over 40 toilets. That's how we allot allocation for all of our buildings. So we house about 150 people on our property every single day. So I am full in emergency, I am full in transitional, and we have all but 2, and we're getting ready to move those people in to the 34 apartments. I know how important housing is to families. We've housed over 20,000 people in the last 40 years. That's almost the amount of people in the city of Ashland. That's how many people we've housed. So every year we house about 600 women, children, and men in our program. About 250 of those are children. So we could actually populate one of our Ashland public schools with the amount of children that we house at Safe Harbor. So about 15 years ago, I had a meeting with one of the bank presidents from National City Bank, and he said, I want to bring you up a donation on behalf of the bank. And I said, great. And he came up and he looked at our apartments, and he says, what are you going to do with the TB hospital? And I said, we want to renovate it maybe one day for apartments. And he said, well, we want to fund that. So PNC Bank bought National City Bank like the next month after we closed, but they funded the tax credit project that renovated the old TB hospital for a $4.5 million renovation. And so we've been housing people in permanent supportive housing for the last 15 years. So we're on the agenda today that I hope you will renew our voucher program that has allowed us to populate and have families live there for the last 15 years. And we would like that extension for at least another 5 that we've asked for you to vote on today. So I'm really here for an FYI of why we're doing this, because your all's ordinance will expire this summer. So that's why we're hoping that you'll pass this so that we can continue to operate and keep families in place and together. You know, we've housed doctors, we've housed lawyers, we've had teachers. All of these folks who have come to us basically as homeless, and we've given them the opportunity through what I call our continuum of care, which is really a gold standard in the state of Kentucky. There's very few programs that have emergency, transitional, and permanent supportive housing, especially on one piece of property. So that's why it's so important, you know, for us to keep families together off the street is not only about economic development, but it's also about keeping our communities safe. And that's why I'm hoping that there won't be a problem with you all voting for the extension for our vouchers today.
All right, thank you so much. Would anybody else like to come forward at this time? All right, for the record, name and address, please.
Mike Maynard, 1831 Eloise Street. It's the year is over, and seems like every year at the mission we've added a lot of new programs that we found folks that have needed, and so part of what I want to talk about today is just to explain some of the things that we've added that folks have needed, talk about some of the folks that have come through our programs and what successes that they have accomplished, and then just to thank the myriad of agencies and governments that have helped us do this. But first of all, this year, one of the things that we just continue to find more and more folks who need somebody to walk with them through their journey of whether it's homelessness or whether it's joblessness or whether it's getting education or help with substance use issues or whatever it is. And so we are the agency that somebody who's getting government assistance, if they're required to do community service, they come through our program. The state has partnered with us for the last 6 years. They like the results. And so they have paid for 2 folks that are barrier resolution specialists, just to help people get over whatever barriers they have. It could be transportation or childcare or education. And so we have those 2 people that are on site that have a passion for helping folks. through the opioid settlement money. We had requested funds to hire a peer support specialist to be on site. And so that happened a couple months ago. And so in her first week of working there, 2 folks decided it was time to go get help in the first week. That's the impact that having a person on site makes the difference. And so thanks for the opioid settlement money for that. We had a crafting group that started up. Boyd County Library is sending a person to do crafting with folks. That turned into, we found, we get a lot of folks that are in supported employment that have some adult disabilities that are high functioning, that come to the mission to volunteer and give back to the community. We found out that they're actually very talented. And so they have done 4 craft shows.
Awesome.
That we have helped them done, and they have made things and sold things at these craft shows. And so we have this group that meets each month. We had a grief support group through Grief Share. So we plan to have a couple of those a year. That's about a 3 to 4 month program that meets weekly to help people get over losses. And we've also, through the help of the state, we've added an additional classroom that's focused on folks that are in our work placement program. And so we were able to secure a computer lab at such a low cost from another partner in the community that helped us out. And so these are some of the things just this year we've added on top of everything else that we've done. And so, over the last 5 or 6 years, the folks that have come through the program, 13 vehicles have been gifted to folks in our program that the last thing they needed to be successful was a vehicle to get around, whether it was going to school or getting a job. And 13 folks from this community donated vehicles to the mission so that we could find who needed them. We have a driver permit and a driver licensing class that we do, because we have a lot of folks who come to us that it's not really being able to afford a vehicle, they don't have a license. And so we've had 13 folks that have gotten their permit and license to enable them to drive. We have 4 that are in class right now that goes on, and that goes on every single day. 2 folks that came to us, they needed help with getting expungements because it had been a long time, and folks pay for mistakes way too long. And it impacts the ability to get affordable housing, food stamps, jobs. And so 2 of those folks came through our program. We helped get them linked up, helped them get whatever they needed, and both of those people are employed now in positions that they could not get hired for prior. Our GED program, we have right on site. So we have 2 that are in our program right now that are going through GED. And they will be adding to the 23 people that have already earned their GED through our program. Just had, I know there's at least 1 that started college this last semester. That takes us to 46 folks who have started college out of our program. 13 of those have already graduated out of the program. We had 6 people that went through peer support training, folks that are in long-term recovery, that have just a great sense of empathy.
I hate to do this to you. Time is up.
All right. 126 folks hired. As of yesterday, we had another one got hired yesterday. So thanks to the city. Thanks for the agencies that help support us, to help us do what we do. And we are seeing successes in folks because of the community support that we get. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Kudos to you and Ann. Both of you do
Thank you all.
Mike, I'd let you talk all day because I'm super excited about basically how you take resources available to you and really put it to the best use in our community. And I appreciate you and the work you do, and same thing. It just
the encouragement alone is just priceless.
This is how
what you
we
do.
as a city allocate dollars and put it in the hands of people who are going to do the best good, the most good with it. And I can't say enough about what you do, and I appreciate you. Thanks.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Anybody else would like to come forward at this time? All right, hearing none, consent agenda.
Consent agenda, a resolution of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting, authorizing, and approving the course of action presented by the city manager on the items appearing on the consent agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of City Commissioners of January 11, 2024.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Number 12 and 13 are both increases in contracts for design services. You see those? So why, when it's design service, do we have such a large increase in these contracts?
Mr. Cole?
Items 12 and
13.
I believe those relate only to payment
Oh, those are,
for services that are already under contract. Those are not for, these particular items are not for increases in those contracts. These are for just regular payments made
They-
on the progress of the design service.
they reflected changes in the past. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. So to Mr.
The way
Cole.
this is worded, though, it says original contract amount and is $72,000, and then the revised contract amount
Right,
is
and-
109.
Right. These were approved by the board previously.
Which? The 72 or the 109?
Any amendment that is annotated in the fiscal note has been approved by the board in previous BOC meetings.
So we approved the 72,000 contract, right?
The original
All I
contract.
want to know is why it's increased this much. But this is an increase, right?
You're asking about, Commissioner, to just clarify, you're asking for
Why
a
we
previous approval, from a previous approval, why the contract was increased.
If we approved this earlier, why is it on here today?
It's
just
only a
on
fiscal note.
It's a
in
payment.
history.
A partial payment under the contract that's previously been amended. It-
Okay, all right.
It,
Why did it go up?
To your question, yeah.
Yeah, why did it increase? It's a design.
Under item 12, it was for additional services that was requested by the city to evaluate some additional financial considerations for cost of service on our water and sewer utilities.
So that was the one that's on here about the water rates? That's further down about the water rates?
Well, that's, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Cole, on this. Again, I'm trying to go deep in the memory bank here. One of these was a request, was a necessity to have the cost of service study adjusted for the impact of the increase of the cost of the wastewater treatment plant.
Everybody get that?
So that was that right? That was one of them?
And it was also related to some newer financial information that was available from the updated annual audit. The course of the study period overlapped the audit years, and so subsequently there was newer information available to allow the evaluation to be made on current data, more relevant than the older data that we had been working with.
Started it with fiscal year 20 data.
Okay,
We first approved the study 2000.
okay.
The inflationary cost of everything, and the police study we did, chemicals have went up, electric has went up. So they're doing it on 23 data, taking into account the new employee salaries, the electric, the cost of chemicals, to come up with new on rates for the increased inflationary cost.
And the same, what about on the electrical engineering design?
That is design, that is not financial, so Mr. Cole would do that.
Yeah?
The increase on that particular item, that again has been, an increase occurred in the past, and this is only for payment for current services provided by the MAG engineering. The increase in that was related to the city adding some additional services for the pump station that we're installing the emergency generators. That was related to some additional services that they had provided.
Okay, so let me understand. You go ahead and get services done, and then say, here it is, pay for it. Is that the way, what this is?
These were approved prior to.
Okay,
application.
all right. Okay, I'm clear.
Okay.
And I have one other one.
Okay.
Number 21, city manager recommends request for an employee to receive back pay. I would like to table this because there is also in here about, I'm fine with moving, I'm going to make a motion to table it because,
Commissioner,
Yes.
just to be clear, you would probably be better served if you made a motion to remove the item from the consent agenda
okay.
so that it could be,
And
so the
move-
consent agenda
table it
could be
when-
Okay,
voted.
all right, I make a motion to remove it from the consent agenda.
So moved.
Number 21.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item has been removed.
So then we're back to the consent agenda as amended.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, is there any other discussion on the items for the consent agenda?
As amended, correct?
As amended.
Okay.
Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Then we would separately consider.
Pardon me, I apologize. I abstain in regards to two matters on the consent agenda.
And then at this point, separately consider the city manager's recommendation for approval of a request for an employee to receive back pay and an hourly increase.
Okay.
That would be now when you would make your motion.
Okay, I'd
To
like to
table
make
that
a
item.
motion to table this until we have further discussion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Now, any discussion?
What further discussion?
Okay, so this employee was part of a few people who didn't get the Baker Tilly raise. So I am all for that because we've done it for two other employees, and I'm certainly happy to do that. But also on here that I certainly didn't know about, it says move this employee to middle grade, which is another $13,984 raise. So I cannot vote for a $13,000 raise. The other people involved got about the same amount of raise, the $3,000 from the Baker Tilly. And this was supposed to be about Baker Tilly and getting him up to the same pay that the other ones got, all employees got. But now added in here is moving his grade to middle and giving him another $13,894 a year, which makes his total raise be what?
So you're saying that it's a different calculation than was done for the previous two?
Yeah, the previous two got the back pay, the salary change, and according to Baker Tilly, okay? This, moving somebody's grade was not part of that.
I don't think it changes the grade, does it?
He's,
I can clarify. There are, Commissioner, you have described this effectively. There are two separate parts to this.
Yes.
The first was in accordance with the two previous employees for the adjustments that the board voted to accept. The second portion of this is independent of that decision, and it is to adjust this employee to the mid-range of his pay grade. It doesn't change his pay grade.
no, but he gets $894,000 raise, and this was never, when we were contacted about this, it was never on there. This is two separate parts. And I'm willing to do the Baker Tilly raise, just like other employees got, but not moving to mid-grade. $13,000, exorbitant, not going to do it.
So, just make sure I'm right about this. What was sent to us, I assume, I'm pretty sure, was two parts of, one part of being the Baker Tilly and one part of proficiency assessment, which was what was requested.
Yes.
I think that's what's in there, and I'm just checking back and forth, making sure we're on the same page. So that's the difference in this. But listen, I was going to make the comment also, it is important, I get the employee issues that we've had, and my stance in the beginning was, whatever we decide on those, it should be consistent. And,
Yep.
and so, here we are. And so, yeah, on the Baker Tilly, I get that one. But also we have a proficiency assessment question here too. So I think that's what, I'm not saying either way, I'm just saying I think that's the other part of this.
So this employee's been here 9 years, and that's not midpoint, hopefully, in his career here. So I would like to, what do? I'd like to make a motion to remove that part from this. We get so many motions going
There's a
here, I
motion
don't know.
on the floor right now to table.
Table it.
Table it, okay.
If
let's
you want to
table
vote,
it.
we could vote against, or you can leave it.
Make a motion to table it.
Okay, so the motion, there is a motion on the floor to table. We have the second. We had the discussion. All in favor of
Well,
tabling?
one second. City Manager, if we do table it, what will be we come back with, obviously we'll have more discussion offline, I'm sure, individually, but,
Assuming that's probably what's going to happen.
yeah, so I just want to make sure about
Yeah,
that.
just to be clear, the analysis I provided you all previously included the recommendation for this. This employee is proficient at his duties, and he is drastically below the mid-range of his grade. For employees rated in the grade 13, 14, 15, and 16, he is the only employee that is not at the mid-range of his pay.
How
Except
much
for-
longer have those other employees, I don't mean to interrupt, but how long?
Except for one who's been here 1 year. So there's one that's
1 year.
is below. Off the top of my head, looking at these, there's nobody on this list that's below 17 years. I think that's a fair assessment. Michelle Dickens, do you know off the top of your head? But I think that's a true statement. As I look at the other 17 employees, I think that's about what this is. I'd say that they are all, but to be clear, this is not a longevity adjustment. It is not longevity. That's what Part 1 tackled, was the longevity. So this is, per the Baker Tilly, if an employee is at proficiency, and I stated this when we did the Baker Tilly, was that it was going to be the easy part, and I say that kind of with tongue in cheek now over what we've been through the last couple of months, was the first part. The hard part is when we get to proficiency, and that it's not just a director says this person's at proficiency and they get paid there. One, we couldn't afford that. But this individual, is at proficiency, and that's why I made the recommendation.
Well, why didn't you make his recommendation when Baker Tilly, he was on the list that didn't get the original Baker, that was picked by you, that somehow didn't meet a criteria on there?
I don't understand your question.
Well, we've given the raise, the Baker Tilly raise to two other employees,
Right.
correct?
I did
He
not-
was on there that he didn't get it, and I'm willing to give him that because it's fair and equitable to treat all of our employees fairly.
My recommendation was not to support the other two pay raises, but since those two pay raises were approved, this would fall in line with the board that the decision made on Part 1. Part 2 is just proficiency. All of the other employees that are the comparatives here are all at proficiency, they're at their mid-grade. So of the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 employees in pay grades 13, 14, 15, and 16. They are all at their mid-range except for one who's a fairly new employee with less than a year.
And what's this employee's current salary?
It is $93,477 a year.
$93,000. I don't see how we can afford to keep $13,000 raises. We just gave you a $33,000 raise. I know, but
We
that's the
also
way I
gave
feel.
a $1.2 million raise to everybody in the city, so.
I know this, but nobody got those kind of raises.
They
But
did.
here,
They did, they did.
a $13,000 raise?
Yes, they
Okay.
did.
All right.
I want everybody to know, I lost all my emails. All of them were gone. So I don't have, are you telling me that you sent something with that second part on there?
I sent individually to each of you, yes, Commissioner.
I didn't, well, I don't have any emails, so.
Okay, so we do have a motion to table on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. And all opposed?
I don't know where I am because I don't know what we're doing. I'm so confused. I don't.
I'm only voting in
So we can
accordance
figure it out.
to table this because I have a commissioner that says they didn't get an email. And to me,
Okay,
that's concerning.
so,
I want to make
okay.
sure that the
I might have
commissioner
got
has,
it.
all-
But I didn't get it.
well, if
Commissioner
you-
Spriggs has a problem with their email right now. We
yeah.
discussed
And
yesterday.
if, and if that is the case, I obviously am not comfortable with any commissioner voting on any matter if they don't feel they're fully informed. So I'm voting to table that matter.
I'll
Any
go that way
opposed?
as well.
Okay, all right, moving on.
Commissioner Blanton's.
I'm sorry.
How are you tabling?
She didn't know how you.
Yeah, but can we, is everybody, I know, but I'm fine doing that, but we need to take it up next meeting.
Yeah.
I feel like, right?
I'm hoping she can have an email by then.
Okay.
I don't know.
I can forward
haven't
you,
able to
I can
fix it
forward
yet.
you mine.
Okay, well, and I can, okay. I need to
All right,
print
so
it.
so that was a yes.
Okay.
All right, so we're moving on to new business at this point.
Yes.
New business item A, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and General Heating and Air Conditioning, Inc., the replacement of 6 HVAC units at the neighborhood in the amount of $102,500 to be paid by Community Development Block Grant CDBG funds for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item B, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Service Pump and Supply for the 45th Street Pump Station duplex control and lighting upgrade in the amount of $18,421 for the Department of Utilities Division of Wastewater Collection.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item C, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Service Pump and Supply for the Ashland High School Pump VFDS in the amount of $271,592.80 for the Department of Utilities Division of Water Treatment Plant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item D, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 1620 Belmont Street in the amount of $5,200 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item E, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 322 Ringo Street in the amount of $4,400 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Have we recouped any of this yet? Is anybody buying these properties at all? Don't know?
I don't know.
I don't think we put any properties,
Well, they're not our properties.
No, not ours, but we have
we
liens
haven't
against.
foreclosed anybody.
Yeah.
Have we, Andrew? 70 properties, right?
I can't sit here and tell you a specific dollar amount of what's been collected within the last year or 2 years on demolition-only properties. A lot of those, the liens are significantly more valuable than the properties. Okay? So the target is to really get those properties back in the hands and under the tax roll. A lot of times they're being dealt with through private individuals, which is how I've been preferring to deal with, because then we don't have to expend sums to try to file foreclosure actions, do title searches. All that costs between $1,000 to $5,000 per property is what I'd estimate. So if we can save money and not have to do that and still get it back on the tax roll, that's how I've been trying to push it. Individuals dealing with individuals, just kind of put people together. Okay? I can tell you that within the last year, as part of the city manager's request for information about highlights and things that have happened over the last year, I've met with Mr. Pullum and Mr. Neese with code enforcement, and it's my understanding that we have collected within the last year over $100,000 in code enforcement, which is the most Mr. Neese was aware of had ever been collected. So I can't tell you what the direct impact is on each individual property or just on demolition, but I can tell you that there is a direct correlation between the activity that you all have authorized and approved and what you're seeing in collections, either through individual properties and payoffs and also foreclosure actions. There is a direct correlation, an uptick in code enforcement activity demolitions has resulted in an uptick in those violations being collected. And that's not to say that the citation number has gone up, but just overall activity has seemed to increase the collections activity as well.
Well, I'm going to just say this. I think I'm less concerned about recouping money.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about properties becoming available
Yes.
to developers that will build new housing starts. Back to some folks here that have expressed a concern about housing. We have a shortage of, I think, affordable housing, and especially if you talk to the Realtors Association, which I've talked to, they also say that there's not enough new inventory in their cash to sell. So if we can in some way, shape, or form compel property owners that are no longer around here that care about the properties, that's usually the ones we've gone after anyways, compel them through foreclosure, I think it's important we try to do that because I think that will also send a message that you better get your act together because we're serious.
We had a 2 to 3 hour code enforcement meeting on Tuesday, which was one of the longest ones I've had, I've been a part of, and that is exactly what that code enforcement board is currently geared to do. It's not cost effective to just let your property sit.
Yep.
It needs to be dealt with, and either you sell it, or a bank is going to sell it, or we're going to push it towards that way so it gets into the hands of somebody who can develop it for some practical purpose. We have no direction on what that purpose is, but it's all primarily housing. And you can go up to the master commissioner's cell. The folks who seem to be buying those properties are folks who are making rental units available or flipping houses or doing something to add value to the housing market. So that all is working together in a very big picture sort of way, but that's the target.
Another angle that I've brought up individually with the commissioners is to kind of piggyback on Commissioner Clark's economic development incentive that was established 2 terms ago?
Yes.
And one of those was a reduction in the payroll tax if there was a guarantee of so many jobs in place. I think it would be interesting to offer something similar in a payroll tax reduction, if legal, obviously, to developers in exchange for producing or constructing low-income to moderate-income housing, which is the need.
That was one of the things I was actually getting ready to say, Mayor, and I was going to ask Mr. Grazy if there was a mechanism by which we may be able to research incentives that other places offer for development purposes.
I think, Ms. Utzinger, you can comment on this for Mr. Pullum, but I do believe that you all have either requested or received a grant to conduct the analysis.
Well, we have we've applied for, it's not really necessarily a grant, it's a program assistance with KYTC for planning in the East Ashland area that would encompass a lot of the lots where homes have been demolished. That is separate from, I think, what you're asking for, is, that is something that we've been looking at.
Carrot and stick.
Yep.
Different incentives that other communities have used to try to encourage development.
Right.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
So the other thing I want to know, those properties, are they, because they had a house on them before, are they still zoned? Are they to specific kind of like bungalows or what?
Well, that's part of the other problem, isn't it, Andrew?
Right, they are in residential zoned areas, but the lots may no longer be conforming with
Yeah.
the current zoning.
Now,
I thought, yeah.
So let me ask you this. Has the Planning Commission looked at addressing building codes that would adopt small, tiny homes or garden homes?
Well, we have no restriction against tiny homes so long as they meet building code.
But is there no restrictions on lot size
There are
for tiny homes?
on lot size, but not building size. So,
But tinier lot, tinier home?
that has to be looked at. But
Well, then I request with everybody up here's permission that be considered.
I think we should.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, we'd love to see, we've been doing this for 3 years now. We'd love to see some movement and for little,
I mean-
bungalows.
And especially on those lots that no longer meet our building code.
Yeah.
In terms of setbacks and those sorts of things. I think we do need to examine, is there a zoning ordinance that we can
Fix some of
affect
this, yeah.
so that we can build on those smaller lots?
And there is, I mean, they can, property owners can certainly apply for variances, and the variance can be used to allow it. So
Okay.
there is a mechanism to allow property, buildings to be built back on those lots.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you.
Okay, we went down the rabbit hole on that one.
Yeah, we've
Important
still not
stuff,
voted on
though.
item E.
All right, so,
Who's your place?
item E. We have had the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item F, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and approving change order number 1 between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Evonik Corporation in the amount of $2,500 and extending the contract for a period of 1 year for the purchase of parasitic acid at a price of .777 per pound for the Department of Utility Operations Division of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item G, an ordinance, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, amending ordinance number 137, series of 2000, as previously amended, relating to the traffic flow on 14th Street between Greenup Avenue and Winchester Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item H, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, amending ordinance number 169, series of 1995, as previously amended, commonly referred to as the stop sign ordinance, authorizing the installation of a stop sign northbound on 14th Street at its intersection with Greenup Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item I, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and approving change order number 1 between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and C.J. Hughes Construction Company, Inc. for the Oakview Road Culvert Replacement Project, decreasing the contract in the amount of $29,136.76.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Spriggs, that's a reduction.
I'm hearing that.
Okay.
I like that.
All in favor?
I see those parentheses.
Yeah.
Aye.
Item J, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and approving change order number 1 between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and A-Plus Contractors LLC for the replacement and reconfiguration of emergency generators for 10 water pump station locations, increasing the contract in the amount of $9,650 and extending the contract 90 days.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item K, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting and enacting supplements S-86, S-87, and S-88 to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ashland.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item L, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the Mayor Pro Tem to execute a 5-year extension to the Housing Assistance Payments Contract between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Harbor Hill LLP regarding the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Project-Based Assistance Housing Choice Voucher Program for the Department of Community and Economic Development, adopted by ordinance number 104, series of 2009, and previously extended by ordinance number 100, series of 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Does this include 5 new vouchers? Am I not reading it in there?
It's there.
Huh? 5 years. Oh, 5
5
years.
years.
I misunderstood you. Okay. Aye. Did you call for a vote?
Did you get to that?
It's the first meeting of the year.
Do we? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain.
Item M, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and approving change order number 1 between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and garage door operations for the garage door system at Ashland Fire Department Central Station, decreasing the contract in the amount of $10,000.
So moved.
Second.
2 for 2, Commissioner Spriggs.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item N, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and approving change order number 1 between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and C.J. Hughes Construction Company, Inc. for the Pollard Mills Infrastructure Project, Phase 3, decreasing the contract in the amount of $17,765.47.
So moved.
Second.
It's trifecta.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to go
Hey,
in.
can I, real quick, just want to apologize for my tardiness. I don't, there's crazy construction going on out there.
That's no excuse.
So, no, I had, unfortunately, an unavoidable issue, but I want everybody to know that through the magic of My Town TV, I will be able to review all the comments that were that we're given, and I'll do that. So thank you very much.
Okay, and I need a motion to go in executive session for multiple individual personnel matters and potential litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Only those items will be discussed. We appreciate your all's participation today. Thank you so much.
Until
not
we
adjourned.
complete the executive session.
Let it be known, we are recessed, not adjourned. Okay, good?
And during recess, you can play on the monkey bars.
record reflect, we have returned from executive session. All the items presented were discussed. Do we have any motions?
Yes, sir. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to terminate employee number 2011123.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any other motions?
Yes, sir. I would like to make the motion to deny grievance 202302.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? We have a second?
To deny the grievance.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do we have a second to deny the grievance?
Go ahead.
I made the motion.
Oh.
I'm abstaining. I was saying.
You're abstaining? Okay, well, then I'll make the, if we're tying up here, I will confer with Commissioner Clark. So, affirm to deny.
So, do we need to vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, it's
Unbelievable.
2-2 vote, the motion doesn't pass. So I don't know what you do now. If somebody can make a motion to sustain the grievance.
What in the world? What do we do now?
You need to go back to executive session.
Yeah.
I make a motion we go back to executive session.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to go to executive session. We have a second.
You look at me like that.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Return to second, hopefully in a second. Okay, let the
Made a mess.
record reflect that we have returned again from executive session. Only the individual personnel matter was discussed. Do we have a motion?
Mayor, let's try this again. Make a motion to deny grievance 202302.
Okay, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Abstain.
All right.
Passes 2-1 then.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Our number is at the